Hello, welcome to Black Friday with Brittany Kennedy. Today is June 12th, 2020, and I'm super excited about today because I'm adding a little bit of history about what Black Friday is all about. So, here on this space, I like to talk about socio-economic issues in the Black community that are too taboo to talk about. Them. The thought process is that we will start to create awareness, and that awareness will help us create solutions, right? So, for those of you that are not familiar with Black Friday, I'm sure all you guys are like, I know Black Friday. It's the day where we go out after Thanksgiving and spend all our hard-earned money, right? Right, but also wrong. Black Friday initially was a day back when slavery was legal, where they would sell their slaves at a discount price. So, I created Black Friday with Brittany Kennedy, so that every Friday we can change that narrative about what being Black is all about, bring those issues to the forefront. But along with that, talking about supporting our community, our Black-owned businesses. Right now, everybody is going haywire, and I hope you guys keep this momentum on how we can support each other, how we can really, really hurt white America. You can hurt white America by getting in their pockets because it's all they give a fuck about. It's money. Money equals power, and for them, the more money they have, the more power they have. So if we stop spending all our money, which if you do research, we spend the most amount in the economy, actually. Crazy, right? But anywho, I decided to feature this lovely, lovely designer, pattern and shape. I bought my son his first kente pants. Isn't this awesome? He's going to look so cute in his kente with that little harem drop, little MC Hammer going on. Can't wait to put him in these lovely pants. You can find her on Etsy. Again, it's called Pattern and Shape. She's super awesome. She's also Black, living out in Los Angeles. At least that's where the company is based. And I love these. I'm going to have to get me some more. It was also paired with a cute jacket, and I'm so disappointed because I actually failed to read properly and pay attention. Didn't click on the drop-down description, thought it came with the jacket. That's alright, I may have to get that jacket in the future. But, again, tell me these are not super cute. I wish she made some in my size, right? That way me and my son could, look alike. That would be so adorable. Anywho, let me get into today's topic. Last week I talked about police brutality, what to do if you happen to witness police brutality, right? And the responses I got was kind of ridiculous. A lot of you guys were talking about how people should jump in to help you, which is why I created this video, right? Luckily, I was so happy at the responses I got this week because people are actually responding and saying the opposite. So maybe all the idiots responded the first time and now the smart people are responding. I don't know. But anywho, you guys said that Darnella Frazier, the one who actually recorded the George Floyd murder, did a great job. That she did exactly what she was supposed to do. She was 17 years old while there was actually other men around, something I was not aware of. I mean, I knew there was men around, but I was not aware that one of George Floyd's friends, childhood friend, was actually in the vehicle witnessing all of this go down, and he did not jump in. Anywho, maybe he was high, maybe he wasn't high, maybe he was just a bystander. They said that George Floyd was high. Maybe he was afraid of going to jail because they were trying to use a counterfeit bill. I don't know. Who knows what the issue was. But that's something that he's going to have to live with for the rest of his life. And I think that's something that we should discuss next time, is how we need to prevent ourselves from being in situations where we are more vulnerable to police brutality or racism. Or, I don't know if that's really the right thing to say, but basically, don't put yourself in a position where you can possibly get killed. But anyway, this week I want to talk about, are the protests helping us? Are we seeing a difference? I don't know, I was very concerned about that. I had my concerns, and I think that it's actually making a difference. And here's a few points that I can actually just let you know about right now. I do research, guys, so you will be able to see links to everything that I looked up below. I'll also put the Etsy for pattern and shape so you can shop for your kids. And here, this is what we have accomplished so far through protest, this protest specifically. Within 10 days of sustained protest, Minneapolis bans use of chokeholds. Finally, in addition to that, there's also some other states who have removed the ability to use chokeholds, and also, I guess, chokeholds, specifically chokeholds that keep oxygen from flowing into the brain. Sorry, I couldn't talk there for a second. Okay, so the next one is charges are upgraded against Officer Chavin and his accomplices are arrested and charged. Dallas adopts a duty to intervene rule that requires officers to stop other cops who are engaging in inappropriate use of force. I love this one. Helps them keep each other accountable. Let's see who really follows it. New Jersey's Attorney General said the state will update its use of force guidelines for the first time in 2 decades. Okay. In Maryland, a bipartisan work group of state lawmakers announced a police reform work group. Excuse me. Los Angeles City Council introduces motion to reduce LAPD's $1.8 billion operating budget. I love LA right now. That's what everybody needs to do. Reduce that motherfucking budget. They ain't got their pension. That is honestly the only thing that makes them understand it's not okay. White people only respond to money. Promise you. That's it. In Maryland, let's see, I already said that. BPTA in Boston agrees to stop using public buses to transport police officers to protest. Well, what do the police officers want to protest? Police brutality captured on cameras leads to near immediate suspensions and fringes of officers in several cities. Thank you. Monuments celebrating Confederate are removed in cities in Virginia, Alabama, and other states. I love this one. Why were all these monuments even being up for as long as they were? Like, we should have been doing this. I've seen them doing it out in Germany. Like, everywhere, they're pulling down these fucking hideous statues that should have been pulled down a long time ago. And I love it. Kudos to us. And everybody else helping us, because there are some other people protesting. Street in front of the White House is named Black Lives Matter Plaza. Love this one. I love this. And then I love that they, topped it off by painting the street. Amazing. Hopefully nobody goes and vandalizes that, but I can almost assure you it's only a matter of time. Let's see here. Globally, protests against racial inequality sparked by the police killing of George Floyd are taken all over the world. We all know that. And there's many, many other things here. I love that in Germany, people gathered in multiple locations throughout Berlin to demand justice for Floyd and fight against police brutality. The reason why I love this is that, number one, my grandmother's from Germany, and so that has a little bit to do with it, but mainly because Germany has such an ugly history of the Nazi Holocaust era. And so the fact that these people are going crazy protesting against the police brutality and promoting Black Lives Matter is incredible. It just brings tears to my eyes almost. Let's see here. A mural dedicated to Floyd was also spray painted on a stretch of wall in Berlin that once divided the German capital during the Cold War. Berlin's going hard, but let's not forget Italy. They are protesting out there as well. You've got Ireland, Spain, Athens, Greece, Brussels, Denmark, Canada, New Zealand. I mean, the list goes on. Poland, Syria. This is completely beautiful. And the reason why is that in all of the other situations, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the Rodney King beatings, you did not have a response that was global. You had, maybe little things here and there, but you didn't have it worldwide the way that it's happening. So right now, this is history in the making for real. This is not a small thing whatsoever. And I'm fortunate to be alive during this time period to be able to witness this. Kudos to Darnella Fraser again for having the bravery and the ability to think quickly and react and just go ahead and start recording, because in all actuality we know that things like this have happened before, but they've been swept underneath the rug. The police report has been changed and everybody knows it's not really what happened, but we have no way of proving it. But here we have the hardcore fact right in front of our face, live on camera. And it's disturbing. It's so beyond disturbing that the entire world, the entire nation is responding in a way that says like, nah, fuck this, we're not having it anymore. So I love it. Let's go ahead and get right on into some articles that I pulled up from The Atlantic. I am looking at, let's see here. Okay, so the name of this article is titled, Why Street Protests Don't Work. This is what they said. Oh, goodness. Here we go. So, sorry, I had to scroll down there. It says, in today's world, an appeal to protest via Twitter, Facebook, or text message is sure to attract a crowd, especially if it is to demonstrate against something, anything really, that outrages us. The problem is what happens after the march. Sometimes it ends in violent confrontation with the police, and more often than not, it simply fizzles out. Behind massive street demonstrations, there is rarely a well-oiled and more permanent organization capable of following up on protest demands and undertaking the complex face-to-face and dull political work that produces real change in government. This is the important point made by Zineb Tufekci, a fellow at the Center for Information Technology Policy at Princeton University, who writes that before the internet, the tedious work of organizing that was required to circumvent censorship or to organize a protest also helped build infrastructure for decision-making and strategies for sustaining momentum. Now, movements can rush past that step, often to their own detriment. There is a powerful political engine running in the streets of many cities. It turns at high speed and produces a lot of political energy, but the engine is not connected to wheels, and so the movement doesn't move. Achieving that motion requires organizations capable of old-fashioned and permanent political work that can leverage street demonstration into political change and policy reforms. In most cases, that means political parties, but it doesn't necessarily mean existing parties that demonstrators don't trust to be change agents. Instead, as I have written elsewhere, we need new or deeply reformed parties that can energize both idealists who feel politically homeless and professionals who are fully devoted to the daily grind of building a political organization that knows how to convert political energy into public policies. So the thing about that, when I was thinking of it, is that I think we are doing things, and I think it is making a difference. I think it is going beyond just like the now. I don't think it's just a fad. I think it's actually going to keep going. We do need organizations like the NAACP, Black Lives Matter to truly step up. I know Black Lives Matter just got like a huge donation of like $1 million, maybe even more. I know that the NAACP has made some kind of statements about what's going on, but I don't feel like in the beginning when this first blew up that they really got in the forefront of it. And so when it comes to protests, like you see, the thing that really, really is the driving force is seeing legislation change. It's not, the small things help, don't get me wrong, but that's where we're really going to see the bigger changes. How are they going to remove the funds from the police force? How are they going to reduce that budget? Legislation, all this comes down from somewhere. And so all of you out there that are protesting, I encourage you to also vote. The majority of you will not vote, and that is the sad reality of the Black community. We will scream at the top of our lungs, we need help, we need this, we need that. But then there'll also be the same people who say, but my vote doesn't count. I'm sorry. How the fuck does your vote not count? Get up and vote. You can't just sit there and scream at the top of your lungs at the entire world and then when it actually matters, decide that you're not going to go out and vote. Now, understand that there's some people that may have their voting privileges revoked, and then that is a different story. But if you can't vote and you're legal to vote, get your ass up and vote. That's the only way it's going to make a difference. Understand what's going on in your immediate government. So not just the presidential elections, but your local elections make a huge difference. They make a big deal about your community. And unless you're really to actually understand that, then you're not really ready to make change. Sorry, that's my thought. Next article. is from the BBC, and it is titled George Floyd's Death, Why US Protests Are So Powerful This Time. So this is a different spin on it. It tells you kind of like why it is we are actually making a difference, and I think that we really are. The other article was a little bit older, but anywho, so I'm going to breeze through this really quickly. Floyd's death was particularly gruesome and obvious. That's one of the reasons why it's making a difference. You can't deny what's right in front of you. I mean, they kind of can. America has for a long time, but this was very brutal. It comes during a pandemic and high unemployment. This is one of my biggest things right here. The pandemic, I think, drove these protests so much. It's not the first time that a black man has been killed by the police, and we have rioted, we have protested, we have looted before. But the pandemic really drove things. You've got all these people at home with all this energy, all these animosities, all these feelings and emotions. And they're thinking about their lives. They're thinking about the things that matter to them, the things that are important. They're no longer just like out in the universe, being blindsided by commercialism or what's on TV or being, at work, being so bogged down with their workload. They had free minds and free spirits to be able to actually stop and think about stuff. And I think that's why we're seeing such a huge support from the white community as well. But then again, like I said, this was like in your face brutality. That's my tidbit there. Next is, it was the last straw. So there was a couple of things that happened right back to back. You had Ahmaud Arbery, you had Breonna Taylor. I believe her last name was Taylor. Sorry if I have it wrong. So you had a lot happening within the span of the pandemic. It was like a recipe for disaster. These protests appear more racially diverse. You've got everybody all around the globe like jumping in. You've got whites from all different sects in Europe, and I mean, it's intense, and it's definitely going to be a moment that we never ever forget. Let's see here. The police actions have had an impact. We're really responding to that. That's obvious. Let's see here. Yeah. So, moving right along here to the next article. How protests become successful social movements. And this one you really should pay attention to, because this is what we really need to do. And when this all first started happening, I was very, very concerned that this was like not good. I was just thinking to myself like, boom, we are completely going to crash. And I felt like that because we're in the middle of a pandemic. The economy is already shit, like complete shit. So much shit that it's going to cost us about $7.6 trillion over the next 10 years to recover. That's how shit it was. And that was just because of coronavirus. So now go ahead and add in what just happened. The riots, the looting. In particular, the looting. Our taxes we're so going to pay for it in the end. The taxes are going to go up. But I'm hopeful, and I'm thinking that the change that we see because of these protests are going to supersede the amount of money it's going to cost us. All the other bullshit, all that stuff can truly be replaced. And I really was reserved about this situation. And so I did not just come out and say something about the protests. It's been about almost 2 weeks they've been going on. And I realized that I was for them even from the beginning, but I was truly concerned about coronavirus and how it attacks black people, or has attacked black people more than any other race, considering the fact that we have the 7 deadly diseases that coronavirus attacks more than any other race, period. So my thought process was like, dang, all of our black people are out there fighting for our voice to be heard, fighting for our equality, fighting for our rights, fighting for us not to be killed. Basic human, rights. Oh, it's ridiculous, but I was thinking to myself, like, how many of us are going to drop dead like flies because of being out there? And that's the reality. And hopefully the majority of the people out there are healthy people who can fight it back. But if not, if there are people who have diabetes or some precondition, sadly, And even if they are healthy, if they've got mom, pop, grandfather, whoever at home, it's plausible that they could also, be affected. And this second wave is going to be pretty bad if that's the case. But anywho, back to this article. How protests become successful social movements. This is how. Number 1, define the change you want to see. That's step 1. Define the change you want to see. We've defined that. We want equality. We don't want to be killed by police officers. We don't want to be violated because of the color of our skin. We want that. We have a dream speech to be reality for us. That's what we want. It's not that fucking hard, white people. So to create the change you want to see, you have to make an affirmative case and define exactly what you want to happen. Number 2, shift the spectrum of allies. Once you have clearly defined the change you want to happen, you need to start examining your spectrum of allies. This is what we need to do now. Figure out whom you can expect active or passive support from, and who will offer neutrality at best, or active or passive opposition at worst. As Sun Tzu wrote, know yourself, know your enemy, and know the terrain. The spectrum of allies is the terrain. We need to do a really good job at this. This is where I think the majority of the time that we have an opportunity to make a difference, this is where I feel like we tend to fail, is we get like our feet way ahead of the race and our necks are like way back here, still choking by the white man, and we end up biting off a little bit more than we can chew because we don't have our allies set together. And this is kind of where the white people kind of swoop in and usually through some kind of political agenda, get us to divert our attention to like, hey, coronavirus. And then next thing you know, it's a spirally cycle there. Step 3, identify the pillars of power. Step 3 is very crucial, guys. While it is crucial to recruit allies from up and down the spectrum of support, it is also important to identify the institutions that have the power to implement the change you seek. Legislation, local governments. You understand? These pillars of power can be the police, the media, the education system, government agencies, or other organizations. As important as popular support is to a movement, without institutional support, little is likely to change. So, you can't just bark at somebody, right? Like when a dog is let outside in the backyard and it is ready to come inside, it barks at the back door, the door that it was let out of. That way it can come back inside to its home. So, we need to be barking at the people that are our home, who are for us, the NAACP, Black Lives Matter. We need to see that money that they got donated to them actually goes into the community to make a difference. Not just into their pockets, not just into their bank account, but actually into the community. It's our responsibility to hold them accountable for that. They should have, I don't know if they do not, but there should be a group of activists, lobbyists, pork barrelers is what they call them, that are ready to lobby to make a difference. I'm sure there are some people out there, but the majority of people out there protesting probably don't even know what the fuck that is. A pork barreler. Next step. Step number 4. Seek to attract, not to overpower. Every movement seeks to correct some injustice, so it's easy to fall into the trap of demonizing the other side. Yet this is where many movements go off the rails. Anger is an effective mobilizer, but anger without hope is a destructive force. You need to make an affirmative case with affirmative tactics. So, I think right now, there's going to be a lot of white people that are pretending that they are for black people because it's a movement and they don't want to really expose their racism. It's why the KKK wear hoods, right? So, I think demonizing the other side, while we do need to demonize them to a certain degree, not a certain degree, all the degrees, but then we also need to see who the allies are of that side. So while we're demonizing that side of people who should be demonized, rightfully so, we should also be looking at those that are ready to help us. That's what we should be doing. So make sure you do not burn your bridges with your really good white friends who really could make a difference. And if they are actually not really for us, and you suspect that they're not for us, I don't know, there is that saying that keeping your enemy close is your best thing. I'll let you decide. Step number 5. Build a plan to survive victory. Ironically, one of the most dangerous stages of a revolution is just after the victory has been won. In Ukraine's 2004 owned revolution, the incoming team was unable to create a unified, effective government, and soon the country developed into chaos once again. Secular protests prevailed in Egypt in 2011, but it was the Muslim Brotherhood that won the elections that followed. So, basically, we can't run out of steam here. We actually have to keep this going, basically. So, we really do need to have a plan and strategize in order for this to be successful. Otherwise, Martin Luther King is just going to be a dream again, and we're going to be spinning our wheels once again, and we're going to be down this cycle in another few years. Let's see here. Yeah, I already stated this. I was wrong. I think I said 7.6. Pandemic to cost the U.S. economy 7.9 trillion over the next 10 years. That is without the protests. So let's make this money worth it, because we are definitely going to pay for that. Like, all the looting, all the shit that went down, that's going to come out of our pockets. That was like our communities. And it's not a really good result. A lot of people went out there looting and they lost their right to vote. Maybe they didn't care. They weren't going to vote anyways. Who knows? But that's kind of a big deal. If you're going to be out there doing things, you should at least try to make a difference. That's positive. I do not condone looting, by the way. Also, with that, we didn't think about the tax-paying dollars, and I know that it wasn't just us looting. It was also Asians. It was also whites. It was also Hispanic. So it's not like it was just the black community. But we are the face of this movement, so we're the ones that's going to pay for it. So when the police decide that they actually want to retaliate, it's not going to be the Hispanics they retaliate against. It's not going to be the whites that were looting. It's going to be us. When they decide that they are angry and they want to crack down and calm down really hard on their policing tactics, they're going to find a way. The police are going to be quiet for right now because they are kind of under fire, but pretty soon here, they're going to kick it up, right? They're going to find new ways, different tactics where there's no cameras to get us where they need to get us to do their agenda, because that is what white supremacy is all about, right? They're not really trying to throw their racism in your face. They're trying to get you, to make you feel like it's kind of okay. And so, maybe when you're on your way to the cell and, nobody's around and there's no cell phones, that's when you're going to get it. Our brothers and sisters are going to pay for this rioting and these protests some way or another, but we really have to make this worth it, guys, because the blowback is going to be crazy, and we need to understand that white supremacy is not just out in the streets. It's in our legislation, it's our judges, it's our lawyers, it's a lot of different people that actually have power. And so we need to make sure that we use this time to make sure that we make a difference. I think that would be the wisest choice. I think that is all I actually had to go through. The next article is just talking about voting, and I've already covered that. Make sure you vote. It's very important. For those of you that are like, oh, my vote doesn't matter, and there's so many people out there, you're so beyond wrong. Your vote does matter, and I understand that there, when it comes to politics, there's corruption, there is, things that they do sometimes with the candidate to make sure who they want to win wins. I get that, but the more that you show up, the more that you can influence that change, and so it's just kind of a better idea to do it, okay? Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video. Share it, like it, subscribe to it. Share it, like it, subscribe to it. Share it, I wonder how many times I could say that before I'm ready to, not say it ever again. But anyhow, share it, like it, and subscribe it, please. Once again, these lovely pants I got from Pattern and Shape. Woo, woo. So make sure you check them out. I know a lot of us have children. A lot of us have friends who have children. We've got nieces and nephews. Support your black community. That is where it's going to hurt them the most, is if we stop giving them our money. It's our money, and we should keep it within our own communities to help build our communities. Thank you so much for tuning in again.